Hello everyone, welcome to the first ever public competitive game analysis for Gigantic. My name is GuyX and I will be looking at a scrim between another team and Team ApeX from, I believe it was last Sunday from the beta event. So yeah, the Gigantic competitive scene is really new and fresh and has been going on mainly behind closed doors. So there's not a lot that I can show you guys, but I have a lot of stuff on hidden. I've done this quite often actually, and I'm hoping to show with this game show you guys the competitive scene a little bit more, show you how Gigantic is played at the very highest level, because we have some very good players playing this game right here. We'll be watching from Jaden's perspective from Team ApeX. Jaden's one of the best range players in the game, and probably the best voted, which we'll be seeing here. And of course, the rest of Team ApeX is also are also considered as probably the best players in the game right now. Another team is usually a little bit less good. They're incredible players as well, but they usually lose from Team ApeX, against Team ApeX. So what we'll be looking at is mainly their strategy, the decisions. I'll try to run you through like the basic rotations and the thought process behind certain actions, and I hope I'll do a good job of this. This will be a fairly long video because the game is about 24 minutes long, which is incredibly long for a Gigantic game. So the video, the analysis running through everything is gonna take a while. So first up, we're gonna look at the team composition a little bit. So for Team ApeX, looking at the Naga side here, they're running Charnock, which is played by Samurai Ed, Margrave, which is played by Doug the Doug, Scoogy is playing Zenobia, then Sornai is playing Beckett, and Jaden is playing Voden, as I said. On the other side, we have another team, Strike Zero on Ashling. That's Zeru on Beckett, Filka Punch on Trip. I believe that's Roscon Mango on Voden, which is a sub for this team, or like is subbing in. So he's not a normal member. And Schmugeldorf on the enemy Margrave. So first up, at the start of this game, we're playing on Siren Strand, or we're looking at the Siren Strand game. And Siren Strand is a pretty fun map. IMO. It's one of my favorite maps. It's a lot about really fast rotations between points. It's about taking opportunities out of your opponent's movements. So it's really important to know where your opponent is, as always, but and record accordingly. So what you'll see in the beginning is that Team ApeX is going to summon three Cyclopses actually on each point here, and Cyclopses are very good on this map as they block off most of the paths toward the Guardian, toward the other points. So I'll draw on the map right now because I have nice things. I hope you can see that well. So on C, the service blocks of this point, which leads into the C point, which means that people have to walk all the way around to try and push that in. It's very hard. A Cyclops on A will block off the tunnel right over there, which is like below here somewhere, which is just a really common path of taking to wound the Guardian. So blocking up that path with a wall is going to make it very hard to push into the Guardian, and makes another team only have one entrance into the Guardian area. And the Cyclops on the left back point will wall this off, which is also a common entrance to the Guardian position. So this just makes it pretty hard for another team to go for those Guardian pushes. And what you'll usually see on a Siren Strand is that people will vie for control over the D point. And this is what also is going to happen in this game at the start. And you will see a lot of fights from the D point. So when we start this off, we see that another team is summoning a creature on the D point. This is incredibly risky to do, because especially if they see Team ApeX coming for it. So it's risky to do because you might give up the creature and give up extra power to the enemy team. But if you get this off, you have a pretty decent advantage over this area. And we'll see. We're gonna see a bit of poking out, and then strike 0. So the Ashling will take a lot of damage in the beginning of this, and then Schmugeldorf will decide to engage on Sornai right here. It's really hard to see because I have to use the faults from Jaden. So Sornai on this back hit is getting engaged on by the Margrave, while the Margrave from Team ApeX is all the way over here chasing Ashling. So it's basically turning into a 4v4 right now. So Sornai is taking a lot of damage from Filka Punch, from like the trip and from the range damage, and eventually gets picked off by the ranged. The Schmugeldorf from Margrave here used all his mobility spells, so he used the charge to chase Sornai, and is basically left helpless right now. He's just having to melee a bit and try to get a kill. And then Filka Punch decides to come back into the fight, takes a lot of damage, takes a meteor from Charnok and falls as well. So that's a 2-for-1 right now, only Scoochie going down. Then the dog rejoins the fight to go on 0, and they're able to pick him off as well. So that's a 3-for-1 at the start of this, which means ApeX has a 10 power lead, and usually if you have a power lead, you want to like hang back a little bit more, not take any risks, or like play a little bit more safe, so you can get the push off of your orbs, basically. So you just want to hang back a little bit, let your defend your orbs so you can get the push before the enemy team. What ApeX decides to do, however, is push into this E point, and this is a pretty risky move, especially because the composition from another team is really good at picking fights. So with the Margrave, the Ashling, they're really good at engaging fights, while ApeX is a little better at counter-engaging and like drawing another team in before they re-engage on people that have overextended. So another team is summoning the Cyclops here, and ApeX decides to go and kill the Cyclops. But we see Samurai Ed here getting zoned out a little bit and has to jump on that pillar, so he's alone when ApeX decides to back away. And what happens is they're gonna be sticking around a little bit too long, so another team's circle composition, basically, they have a lot of focuses with really big circles. That's basically what that means. And they're gonna find an engage in this middle point, in this really like tight space, and kill a couple people from ApeX. And this is gonna make it pretty hard for them to go for the wound. You see, like, Samurai Ed is super low, is getting picked off, and Jaden can't really do all that much damage to the wound, which is unfortunate. But I think had they backed off earlier, or had they just sat back and waited for their orbs to spawn, I think they might have gotten that push, and that wound would have been pretty easy to take. Because it's very hard for this composition to like go in, kill something fast, and get out without losing people. When compared to the enemy team composition, it's really easy for another team to pick fights with this. So now ApeX is gonna rotate over to D, making a really fast rotation here, catching like another team kind of off guard. They didn't respond all too fast, but now they're gonna go and pick a fight. Filka is coming from the back here, but she's alone against 4 people, and she pretty much dies before Schmoog gets the chance to engage, and then Schmoog is alone as well. But Ashling joins in the fight with Jaden being pretty low from the focuses going off. He's going to go down as well. And now it's going to be hard to follow. Schmoog eventually gets Charnok focused and taken out as well. So we lost Jaden, Samurai Ed on ApeX's side, and Zeru and Schmugeldorf on another team's side, giving a slight lead towards ApeX right now. Actually, getting strike 0 as well at the back of that. So they have a 30 power lead now, which is a very comfortable lead. And then they decide to go and jump on Filka Punch, who was still on the ledge. Doug goes really far up, and Scoochie walks. Oh my god, that's so hard to see. So Scoochie walks really far up here, and he's Zenobia, so he doesn't have like a really hard escape. like a jump or a dash attack move. So it's going to be really hard for him to get out. So he takes a lot of damage while getting out, and then Trip comes back in and just kicks him and kills him. So kind of closing the gap. At this point, ApeX should have backed out. I think they mentioned that in comms. By the way, there's a link to the re-uploaded game on YouTube in the description, so you can watch with me. I should probably mention that at the start, but you can definitely do that. So at this point, ApeX should have backed out. This is where they had the chance to just go away, take their 20 power lead, get the push off of the Sea Orb, because this is like spawning halfway right now, so it's almost done. And just take the push. But instead they decide to re-engage on Zeru, who's a little bit overextended. But then Doug gets double focused by Trip and Margrave, gets taken out. Sorna gets engaged on by Schmuggledorf there, and goes down as well. So ApeX lose 4 people and eventually give up the push to another team, even when they had like a 30 power lead at some point. So this is very unfortunate. I think that's a pretty huge misplay that didn't have to happen. So here Jaden just kites people around, jukes him with a pretty strong heal from Voden. So yeah, the first one, ApeX does not have full shield, and the first one is incredibly hard to defend without having full shield, especially if a full team is wailing on it. So it's going to be pretty easy for another team to take this. Even though they lose Strike and Zeru in the process, but they only give up 10 power. Because you don't give up power when people die during the rampage. You don't give up power to the enemy team. It's only when the push is over, when the Guardian has either recovered or is wounded, that you give up power for kills. So usually when a team just got the wound, they're at their most vulnerable because they're super low from having focused the wound and getting getting focus fire from the enemy team. So when they start to retreat, that's like the best point in a match to get picks and free power for the next push. So basically they killed Strike Zero before the push ended, so that didn't give power, but then they killed Zeru after the push ended, so that did give power, and now Schmoog is gonna get caught out as well. So this leads to ApeX having about a 20 power lead for this next push. This leads them to take out this Bloomer for free, and now everyone on another team is respawning, so they can move on this. So this is another time when pretty much the same happens as last time. They stick around a little bit too long and just get circled. So this Voden ult is pretty good for stalling them out while another team respawns and is able to join the fight. So then Schmoog jumps in as a pretty good focus, like right here on 2 people. The Snobby focus stalls the Ashling, and I believe that was the Beckett for a little bit, but Doug goes down. They do get Ashling's. Do get Ashling, but it's 2 for 1 in favor of Art. So they catch up to their lead a little bit after having a 30 deficit. And now now another team overstays their welcome, because this is just a disconnect in communication. So we have Margrave and Beckett pushing in while the rest of the team is nowhere to be found, which is also just a mistake. They were already like on half HP before doing that. So Zeru is just going to get picked off. Schmoog is very low and can't really join in. Filko tries to get something out of it, but doesn't manage to pick up Samurai Ed there on the Charnok. So now ApeX has a very good opportunity to go and summon D as another team is regrouping on their E and respawning. So they have a pretty good chance to get a Serb up themselves now. So now they spotted a rotation over the sea from another team and now caught them in the middle. But what you will see, I think we could have spotted that there. Yeah, we see, I believe that's Mango going over. Let me draw a little bit. Whoops. So we see the range damage from another team is going like all the way this way to over the sea, or is at least in this area, in where the circle is. We see the front line, so the Ashling and the the Ashling and the Margrave from another team going actually all the way over here to like the chasm below the D point. And this is also disconnecting communication, which leads to Schmoog and Strike Zero basically getting called out in the middle of 4 of Team ApeX members, and Schmoog just gets killed and gives up the power, gives up the push to ApeX. And I think this happens a lot. This is like a bit of a pattern during this game. We see like the Margrave and Ashling constantly like overextend or too far forward for the rest of another team to follow that up. And this is going to be an auto wound, as Jaden pointed out. So when you get an auto wound as a team, you basically have an opportunity to get something for free without having to commit for the wound. So you get the wound for free and you can go do something else. So ApeX decides to put pressure on this deep point, maybe upgrade this, but another team is moving in to fight them for it. So what we're gonna see is VoD is gonna get chunked out here, and ApeX, as soon as that happens, ApeX pulls the trigger and goes to upgrade this Cerberus to a Cerberus Majoris. You'll see ApeX doing this a lot, as a Cerberus Majoris is incredibly good when Clash comes around, because it usually gives a large amount of vision, and it gives so much vision that you usually cover like 3/4 of the Clash arena. So you basically know where the entire enemy team is all the time. So and now Art is gonna fight for this point. So Schmoog gets chunked a bit, misses his jump, so he doesn't have to engage. Charges out, but still takes a lot of damage and decides to continue the engage. So we have to rewind a little bit there. Like right at this moment, you see Scoogy over here use a Zenobia focus. And this one is incredibly good. We can't see it, but you will notice that the range damage from Art is nowhere to be found. That's basically because they are being held up by the Zenobia focus. So this leads Strike Zero's like half HP over here, like the Ashling, and Schmugadorf, who's half HP over here, to be basically alone and unable to do anything. So at this point, Schmoog should have walked backwards and like killed the Zenobia, was still like incredibly deep. So Zenobia's still here and is still not joining his team, so it's all the way over here, basically. But ApeX can just focus Schmoog down, because he's alone, and get that for free. So Scoogy goes down when his ultimate runs out, and basically everyone just focuses him down. Doug focuses, they kill Mango. So Sword Eye gets killed on the D point by the Trip, who came around, which is unfortunate. So Trip is gonna try and sneak up a little bit. Doug tries to jump the Invis Trip, but doesn't hit anything. And they did, ApeX did pick off Zero as well. So they had like a 2-for-1, I believe, there. They got the summon up, which is pretty good for them. And they have now a 10 power lead. Filka Punch is still trying to get a little bit off it, keeping Cater on it. And we're just gonna go straight back to another fight, if I'm correct, if I remember that correctly. But so yeah, you saw Schmoog flying all the way over here. So he is already he's attacking Samurai Ed here on the Charnock. So we saw like the Margrave flying this way, he's off the screen. And so the rest can't really follow up there. So Schmoog takes a little bit of damage for this as well. He gets chunked out to at least like 60% HP or something like that. And then he goes. So we see Zeru jump down here, or fall down, or be on the low ground, which leads ApeX to engage on him. So Zeru has to jetpack out, which he's currently doing, and he jetpacks so far away that he's currently out of range. Then Schmoog jumps in on Samurai Ed, uses focus, gets chunked out, and goes in with like a sliver of health remaining. While the Ashling is wailing, the Ashling and Trip are wailing on the Scoochie there in the back. So this was a 2-for-1. So Scoochie died in the back. Aisling and Margrave for another team died there while they were getting focused on before members of Team Art. And the range damage, so Mango and Zero were basically so far out of range they weren't able to contribute at all to that fight. So we see just such a disconnect between the front and back line from another team, which is very unfortunate. So what this composition does from ApeX, especially if VoD takes the heal upgrade, they have a hard time going for wounds with the walls from the cycles being everywhere. So they don't have a way to really get up there without using their escapes, without using all their escapes. So it's gonna be difficult for them to get to the wound. So they're trying to wait up Mango here, but instead Samurai Ed gets caught out by Falco Punch, gets focused, and gets taken down, which is very unfortunate. So now Jaden's gonna have difficulty going for the wound as well. We do see Skuji and Sornai on the wound right now because they walked all the way around, while Doug. So let's draw. So Skuji and Sornai walked all the way over here while the fight here was going on. So they managed to get to the wound and deal damage to it, and while Doug is still in the middle area getting caught off. So Doug eventually goes down. Same for Sornai, and Skuji eventually as well on the Zenobia. So they did a lot of damage to the wound, enough for it to be an auto wound next time. Next push, if they manage to get that. And now we transition into Clash. So as you see, it's a little bit less the case here, but you see the servers having like this large area of vision, basically just covering the G and A points. So they can immediately spot a rotation. But another team is faster to this D point and manages to do a lot of damage to the Serpajors that ApeX have summoned here. So they get it down to like half HP, like 60% HP, and then the fight breaks out here. So we saw Falco Punch there taking a huge load of damage, and she basically has to disengage. Charnock focus going off here. Or that was I'm not actually sure what that was. I think that was a Margaret focus actually. So yeah, Strike Zero goes down. The Serpent Jaws goes down. And again, we see like there's Falco Punch has to retreat. Mango is nowhere to be found, like the Voden. I believe the Beckett got chased out by the Margrave. So Doug chases out Zero's Beckett here. So Shmoog focuses the back line. Doug flies all the way over here to chase Zeru, who is walking over here. So yeah, so it turns into Aisling and Margrave basically versus 4 in here. They do manage to take out the creature, as I said, but they eventually lose 3 for taking out the creature, which gives a pretty big power lead to ApeX, and is now making them able to push into to the G point. So really well placed Voden focus locks down Falco Punch and gives it makes it a 4-for-1. Now they take out the creature as well, gives them like a 30 power lead. It's pretty good, pretty comfortable. But we've seen them throw a 30 power lead before this game, so we'll see how they do next time. Now Art is trying to kind of capitalize off ApeX being low and having to retreat. So they do take out Doug on the backside of this. They take out Skuji. And they are also able to take down Samurai Ed eventually. They do lose Zero, I believe. But then Jaden is the only one remaining. And another team gets full shield, which is quite tragic actually, because this would have been an auto wound for ApeX, but they get wiped instead. So they give full shield over to Art, which means that their Guardian is not going to do any damage to another team's Guardian, which leads into them not getting the wound. So yeah, Apex is going to respawn. The Cyclops super low. Schmook decides to jump in on the Cyclops to take it out. Eventually manages to do so. And then charges out. Like runs out. And what we see, Zero being completely out of position here. And Apex is going to turn on him while Skuji and Sornai kind of chase to the right side. We see Sornai backing off in time, but Skuji is chasing alone. Which eventually is going to mean that he's going to go down to Filka Punch, but Apex is going to trade Zero for that life. And is now going to focus on picking up, making sure they get this A orb. Because this is where the game truly gets interesting in terms of like rotations and pushing. Because what people are going to look for is, especially when the power gets close to 100 for either team, people are going to try and push into the spawning orbs of the enemy team to make sure they get power and they don't, and the enemy doesn't. So you'll see teams rotating over to the places where their orbs are spawning, because that's the most important place to defend. Apex gonna, this is a little bit of a lull in the game. Apex gonna go and try and upgrade this to a Summer Bloomer, because they don't have any, like a safe place to retreat to when they're pushing. So basically they're just hanging around their B orb, make sure nothing gets stolen. And we'll probably won't see too much action until stuff gets close to 100 power. So Zero taking some damage there. Yeah, so it's mainly defensive movements, a little bit of poking, but not all that much happening. So after this orb, so it goes A, B, C, and then D, of course. For the other team, it's G, F, E, and then D. So it's like the other way around. So after this, we'll go towards the D point, the center point, and which is going to be a major fight probably. Because these orbs will take Team Apex to 70 and another team to 80, which means they're one orb away from getting the push. So, and that means Team Apex has to take initiative or do something to make sure they get the push instead of Team Art. But that's, on the other hand, that's also like risky, because if you lose two people, then another team gets the push as well. So Doug decides to engage here, but Apex calls off the engage because Doug was kind of deep and they weren't able to follow up, so that's a good call. And now they're positioning to fight over this D orb while it's spawning. So Jaden has to kind of get away. Skuji's alone up there. He's in combat, and I believe he's fighting with Zeru and Beckett in the backline. He's doing a lot of damage to Zeru, because we'll see Zeru kind of walk over from the right side. When Schmook jumps in on the backline, see Zeru is like super low. Jaden manages to take him out with a couple of well-placed shots. A lot of focus is going off. This fight's going to be really confusing. It's really confusing to watch and hard to follow. But eventually, Art gets the push. It's a 3 for 3 right now. But because Art had needed only 20 power to get the push, and Apex needed 30 power to get the push, Art will get it before Apex does. So Apex does have full shield, and generally, when you get full shield on like the second or third wound, it's incredibly hard to take when the enemy team is defending. I think personally, it might be a little bit too hard to get it, or like the balance between having full shield and having almost full shield is not quite correct. But we'll see Art like go in one by one and doing a little bit of chip damage to the wound, but not actually accomplishing much here. So Jaden whiffs his focus, I believe. I'm not sure actually, because Zero was jetpacking away, so it might have dealt damage, but not rooted him. But ApeX takes out 3 people on the back of that wound attempt. Doing a lot of stuff there. And now ApeX is pushing into this Cert Majoris, but the Margrave focus kind of deters them and makes them back away. Samurai is super low, like over to the left side here, and gets picked off eventually. And now Art decides to take a fight as well. Another really well placed Zenobia focus kind of stalls, so ApeX is able to trade Margraves basically. So it's a 1-for-1 trade eventually with Samurai going down before that. So that fight was a 1-for-1. Pretty decent, I guess. Yeah, so that was like about the best they could have gotten out of that, because it was like they were at a disadvantage. Falca Punch did pick up Apex's orb though. While the fight here was going on, Falca Punch was picking up that A orb, and that's gonna be giving Art a lot of power. A lot of power advantage. Getting an orb stolen is really bad. Like you don't want that to happen, because it's a huge deficit that you have to make up. Because you see, it's like a 40 power lead, which is incredible. Incredibly hard to get back from against like a good team. So this is when ApeX is going to try to push for this F point, because they have to. So they're taking a fight over here. Schmook jumps into Jaden, but charges out. Jaden jukes with the swap on the clone. And this fight is incredibly hard to follow as well. Jaden's gonna back off, heal a bit, but Schmook took a lot of damage in that engage, like jumping on them. So he's about half HP. Strike Zero is gonna go down here in the back line to Jaden, and Scooch is gonna fall, or like Scooch is gonna ult Falca Punch there. So maybe we'll rewind this fight because we have like 2 things to explain. And here Jaden just jukes the Margrave like incredible on the heal. And then double focus Voden to just blow him up. And Samurai Ed and Sonai picking off Falca Punch like over here at the Cyclops. Then ApeX gets a Cyclops as well. But another team gets to push because they were so far ahead in power. They only had to get like a couple kills. So let's rewind that a little bit. And look mainly at what happens like behind Jaden. So Schmook took a lot of damage from that and is gonna push the engage. Another team is gonna follow over here. Wait. So another team is gonna follow through this choke point here, which makes ApeX able to kite them back basically and deal a lot of damage. While Scoogy is holding up, I believe it's Ashling and Falca Punch here. So the other 3 members from ApeX from another team are chasing the rest of ApeX, like behind Jaden right now. So yeah, Doug goes down eventually. Zero is super low, but is able to get picked off by Jaden. So Jaden gets super low, but jukes Margrave. And then Samurai Ed and Jaden are able to combo the Voden there. Then Schmook decides to tries to rejoin the fight, or like help his allies out, but it's too late, and he just goes to sit on the creature. ApeX does take out the Cyclops there, so they got a creature for it, and this definitely was a very favorable fight for ApeX, but because they were so far behind in power, they still gave up the push. So it's going to be very hard for another team to take it, as only Schmugeldorf is on it currently, because he's the only one that survived that fight, so he's going to be there on his own. So as soon as they kind of notice it's not going to work, another team backs off and is not really committing to this wound attempt. So we're back at 0-0. So we're going to reset a little bit. I'm already going for 35 minutes, so... So now, it's just gonna be picking up your orbs again, making sure you get your own, not get anything stolen. And ApeX is going to decide to upgrade their B point to Assert Majoris. Art's probably going to try and push into that A point because ApeX doesn't have a creature there. So they might be able to steal that if they win a fight. But they're kind of hanging around and deciding not to engage. So ApeX is going to rotate over back to their Cerberus Majoris where the orb is spawning, make sure that they get the creature orb up and they get the orb. Maybe they're going to try and push into F. And we'll see almost a repeat happen of the last fight. Almost like a very similar fight is going to happen here. So we see the backline, like the Margrave and the Zenobia going forward, and we see the Voden, the Beckett, and the Charnok getting jumped on by Schmoog here. And then we'll see a really good wombo combo here. You have to pay attention. Because Skuji ults the backline right here. So he ults, I believe he ults the Voden, the Ashling, and I think it's the Trip, but I'm not really sure. And then Doug's gonna jump in and chain that with his own ultimate. So that makes ApeX able to focus fire the ranged heroes from another team and deal a lot of damage to them without them being able to respond to that. So they take out the enemy Voden, take out Mango, deal a lot of damage to the rest. Filko gets focused while Voden focused while invisible, gets super low but is able to get out. They eventually pick up Schmugadorf and Ashling as well, and picking up their own power orb and picking up the orb on F from another team gives ApeX the push. Another team has like 0 shield right now. They have very low wound health, so this is definitely an auto wound. No questions about that. Because it's a little bit of guesswork sometimes. Sometimes you're like off by a bit. Probably should put something on the UI that signifies auto wounds, but maybe there is something already and I'm just dumb. But so yeah, so the orb rotation is currently starting on A, and ApeX is going to look to finish off this game. So another team decides to push into E. So we see on this Majora's Vision, you'll see 3 members of another team moving into E. And so I have a question for you guys. What's apparent here? So we see Schmoog on Margrave here is forward really far, and the rest of this team not able to. It's like getting zoned out or is not anywhere close. Zero takes a really weird path and gets picked off, and then another team is gonna get chased out off of that really weird engage. I think that looked like desperation to me. It wasn't like a super weird call because they were on 0-0 power, so they didn't have to do anything there. And instead they give up 3 kills. So they give up 3 kills, give up a 30 power lead, give up another orb leading to a 50 power lead. Power disadvantage for another team here. So ApeX picks up their own orb giving a 70 power lead, and is then gonna rotate over to the F orb that is like just about to spawn, or has spawned right now. They pick up their own orb on B, giving them a 90 power lead, and is then just gonna try and push into F to close up this push. So, same thing happens. This is like the 3rd time this happened. Schmoog jumps in on exactly the same spot on the backline, but the ranged heroes from another team are just not able to follow up, and Schmoog gets picked off alone, giving the push over to Team ApeX here. So then Zero goes in. Somewhere I did get picked off by Filka Punch in the back line. It's not all that big a deal. Another team has no shield because they managed to gather exactly 0 power in that push, so it's gonna be really easy to take out this wound even with just a couple people. So VoD is still running away from the Ashling, would be able to join. It's gonna get picked off, and ApeX gonna finish up the game. Alright, so this was an incredible slugfest. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something from it. So what the teams should take away for it, I think they'll mostly realize that themselves, but what the teams should take away from this is ApeX made a couple mistakes because they overstayed against a composition that was very good at picking fights. They kind of overpushed their boundaries sometimes and got punished for it pretty hard. So that gave up a couple pushes for them. While the Zenobi pick was incredibly effective, I'm not so sure. I'm doubting if maybe a Sven pick or something would have been better for them to be able to go for wounds together, because they weren't really able to transition like pushes into wounds earlier in the game, which was unfortunate. So that's something to think about, and I think another team just has to work on their communication, because the desync between like the front line and the back line is incredible and just costs them so much. Because I think if Shmoog had focused more on like peeling the front line from ApeX off of his carries, and instead of like engaging really far up, they might have won some more fights. But it also comes down to execution and just hitting your stuff, of course, and ApeX is very good at that, so I'm not sure if that would have changed the outcome of the match. But I hope you enjoyed. As I said, hope you took something away for it. There will be Twitters from all the players in this VOD in the description for everything that for everyone that played. I want to thank them from letting me use their VoDs for this analysis, and I hope I can do more in the future. So that's gonna be me. That's gonna be it for me, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.